today we ate a lot of Muslims. And I just remember listening to that thinking, wow, the capacity for remorse is not there. In Israel, they continue to say that the Israeli army are killing terrorists in Gaza. You ask me, if I say the word Israel, what do I think? I think Israel kills babies. So they are willing to collaborate with the Zionists if it means destroying Arab nationalism. They say, okay, Palestinian civilians, but Hamas terrorists. And slowly these words have slipped into each other. So now Palestinian is Hamas is terrorist. The thing that these countries most fear is when the people come together and say, we want equality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a two-state is very important right now to protect the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza from being annexed by Israel.
I want to start once again from a personal question. You cover a lot of territory in your conversation, in your podcast and interviews, and that territory is actually marked by exploitation, oppression, genocides, and human rights violation. How do all these things personally affect you, emotionally, your own well-being?
Well, look, I, as a young man, was a reporter in India. And as a fairly young man, not so young, I was in my late 20s. It was the first time in my life I reported what is known as a communal riot. And this was in Selampur in Delhi in 1993. This is after the destruction of the Babri Masjid. And it's difficult for any human to experience something where you see one person killing another. And in this case, the killing was done with a sword.
Wow.
Now, yeah, yeah. And the thing is that, you see, it's not like I was born in the medieval period. I was
No.
born, in the 20th century. And by the time I was born, the nuclear bomb had been used already, 20 years had passed.
Yes.
So this is the era of the nuclear bomb. Yeah. Now, of course, people stab other people with a knife. Yeah.
Yeah.
Criminal activity and so on. But you can survive a knife stabbing. Somebody stabs me, unless they stab my liver or they stab me directly in the heart, which is not easy because the rib cage will protect you. Yeah, you can survive a stabbing. But this fellow had a sword and he cut the other chap's head off. But the thing is, it takes time to cut somebody's head off. वो एक छलांग में होता नहीं है. दोबारा करना पड़ता है. Bang, bang. And watching that as a young person, thinking, yeah, what motivates people? Then in Iraq, watching the American bombs fall, yeah, wipe out neighborhoods. I was in Gaza in 2014 after the bombing, then killed 3,000 people plus. I just saw the remains of Gaza, Syria, meeting these boys, young boys who had joined Al Qaeda. I mean, it's difficult to tell you, like, what motivates people. Like, what is so bad in your life that you feel the need to take a lot of other people's lives? What can be so bad in your life? See, I don't believe. Look, you are in a part of Pakistan where people live in poverty. You look out of your house, there are poverty doesn't drive people to do horrible things. Poverty can, people don't necessarily go and take a sword and cut somebody's head off. It's not true that you're so in such a bad situation you do this. So I have for my entire life wondered, what motivates a person, an individual? What motivates them? For instance, in Gaza, what motivates an Israeli soldier to, just go into a house and just shoot the living room? They've already killed everybody. The
Yeah.
bombs have already dropped. Afterwards, the Israeli soldiers go into these houses, they take the children's toys, they break them. What motivates you to go inside the house of a Palestinian family? You've already bombed the house and you make videos of yourself breaking the children's toys. What is the motivation of cutting somebody's head off? I'm not talking about, you know, Hindu fundamentalists or Al Qaeda or Israeli soldiers. I'm just saying, I'm interested also as an individual. Yeah,
Yeah.
you are just a poor person. I recently went to Buchenwald. First time I visited a concentration camp. In this concentration camp, 8,000 Red Army Soviet soldiers were taken one by one into a room. They were told they are taking their measurements, but behind them in the neck, they were shot one by one, 8,400 and something. That means 8,400 and something children of farmers. These are the Kisans of Russia and Ukraine and Tatars and whatnot, one by one taken. And behind them, farm boys from Germany were shooting them. So I'm interested what motivates people. Those farm boys who were shooting them, they were not all scientific Nazis. A lot of people in the communal riot, the fellow with the sword, they are not hardcore Hindu fundamentalists. Who
Yeah.
knows what's going on in their head? Those boys I met, Al Qaeda boys in Syria, yeah, they were in Jabhat al Nusra. These boys are from Algeria, Tunisia. They didn't strike me as particularly hardcore Al Qaeda.
Yeah.
The Israeli soldiers are not necessarily hardcore Zionists. What motivates people when you put a uniform or tell them they are Al Qaeda, or you tell them you are in Bajrang Dal, or you tell them you are in Jaish-e-Mohammed, or whatever you tell them? Yeah, what motivates them to do terrible things? And that has interested me, even though it hurts personally, as you
Yes.
asked, to see these things. You accumulate the sorrow of it.
Yeah.
But the question is, what motivates people, boss? No idea. Still no idea.
Yeah.
30 years later, no idea.
Yeah, and I think I was about to ask next question about this. Like, if I could focus on the story that you told me about yourself. So there was you who was watching the situation when people were getting killed, and there was then the person who was killing, and there was then the person who was killed. So if we could just like look at the situation of Israel and Palestine right now as it exists, and you said that you still didn't know, but still I want to focus on this point. Why is it that there are certain people who are first rioting, like as you said that there was communal riot? I want to understand like why certain people are rioting, they are like on the street, they are what we call rebels. Why do people protest, for example? And then why there are certain people who are killing the people, and like they are not even feeling that we have killed a human being? And then they are like, you were there, you were seeing the situation as you described in your story, and you were feeling the situation, you were sad about it. But there are people who don't feel anything about it. I was just listening to an interview now, and that person was saying that I was in Israel, and and the Palestinians were getting killed, but there was like nothing on the television, like is if anything is happening at all. So why we don't feel, like certain people don't feel when there is like this sort of situation happening, even in front of their own eyes on their own screen? So why is like these three questions I think about?
I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist or a
Yeah.
social psychologist, or,
Yeah.
these are big, broad questions that I'm sure people have been studying for a long time about, detachment. You feel
Hmm.
detached. It's nothing to do with me, and so on. Um, so, okay, let me tell you another story about
Yeah.
that riot.
Yeah.
There was because it helps enter your question. There was a shoot at sight curfew announced.
Okay.
And the problem was that, for a journalist, where do you go when there's a shoot at sight curfew? Like, you're stuck in the middle of this area.
Yeah.
There is no vehicle to go back to your home. You can't really walk up to a police jeep and say, "Can you take? I'm a journalist. I'm stuck here." It's shoot at sight. Okay, it's not just a curfew. Shoot at sight curfew is different. That means the
Yeah.
police or the, I think in this case it was the border patrol has a right to kill you
Yeah.
without any question. You have to get out of the streets. So I went to a temple. There
Mm-hmm.
was a temple, and
Okay.
I knocked on the temple door and I said, "Can I stay here?" So shoot at the. They said, "Of course you can stay here." So I went in there and I washed my hands, and they said, "We have some food," and they're very polite people. There was a knock on the door. Some fellows came in. Okay, these are fellows who brought like their cutlass and their chakus and their whatever, the tools of killing. They also came to take refuge. Now, they also were stuck, shoot
Yeah.
at sight. I don't know where they had come from. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't really, was not able to find out. But they were talking to the pujaris there, the temple keeper, and they came in and they also washed their hands and ate some food. Nobody asked them who they were.
Okay.
Nobody asked them anything. Yeah. Because it's a sanctuary. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could have gone to a masjid. I could have gone to a church. You see, the thing is, in a city, if you think about it, there are only a few sanctuaries in the
Yes.
middle of this situation. You can't knock on somebody's door.
Yeah.
No human in the middle of that is going to open their house and say, "Oh, please
Yeah.
come in."
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Nobody. Everybody's scared. Yeah,
Yes.
everybody's locked the door scared. Shops are closed. So you can't go to a shop and take refuge. It's basically religious buildings.
Yes.
Or if there's a government building, there's no other choice. Anyway,
Yes.
these fellows were there. They also stayed the night. So I stayed the night with these fellows. Now, at some point, they were talking and they were drinking and so on. And the pujaris had disappeared into the walls. They vanished somewhere. These fellows and me were there. They were drinking. And one of them bragged and said, "बहुत मुसलमानों को खाए हैं आज."
Kai hai aaj.
Today we ate a lot of Muslims. And I just remember listening to that thinking, wow, the capacity for remorse is not there. Because when you do something horrible, when you've killed somebody, you have to also distance yourself from it. You can't afford to take responsibility for it because it's going to damage you. You see, if these fellows said, "Oh, we feel terrible, we killed 10 people today," you get, so they distance themselves.
Yeah.
Um, they distance themselves from what they had done. Okay,
Yeah.
they distance themselves.
Yeah.
Just a minute. Anyway, they distance themselves by saying, "Ki, somebody else has done it. It's not me. It's something else." Humans have this capacity. So, you know how we've developed military technology now? There were drone attacks in northern Pakistan done by the Americans and in the Pakistan-Afghanistan border area. Drone attacks. But the drone operator was sitting in Las Vegas, Nevada. They were just looking at a screen, yeah, and they'd press a few buttons, and the Hellfire missile would be fired thousands of miles away. But
Yes.
they didn't have to cut somebody's head with a sword. So they then finished their shift. They killed 10 people. They finished their shift. They they logged out of work, got into their cars, drove to McDonald's, bought a
Yes.
McDonald lunch, ate it, yeah, went home, had a shower, watched TV. They killed 10 people, just like those fellows in the temple. They also thought, "I killed a lot of terrorists today."
Yes.
You know, they distance themselves by language, by theory. In Israel, they continue to say that the Israeli army are killing terrorists in Gaza. They're killing Hamas. They're not killing civilians. That the Palestinians are lying. They continue to say that there were 50,000 people involved in Hamas, in a way. You see, or the numbers are exaggerated. But they continue to believe. And slowly the language has begun to slip. So that this was the word Hamas. So you killed Hamas. That's okay. That's legitimate. Terrorist. Yeah. This is the word Palestinian. They say, okay, Palestinian civilians, but Hamas terrorist. And slowly these words have slipped into each other. So now Palestinian is Hamas is terrorist. And you have polls in Israel where people say that if the Israeli military enters a village in Gaza, they have the right to kill everybody because Palestinians are Hamas, they voted for Hamas, and Hamas is terrorist, and it's okay to kill terrorists. If you kill terrorists, you're not killing people.
No.
So if you start doing this, and by the way, people have done this in all countries. When this fellow talks, this fellow in the temple says this about Muslims, yeah? What he's done is he said, terrorist, some Muslim terrorist organization, what you put one name or the other, yeah? Something or the Jaish something,
Yeah.
terrorist, Jaish something, Muslims, and
Yes.
then this begins to go like this, yeah?
Yes.
Or Al-Qaeda, terrorist, Iraq, Al-Qaeda, terrorist, you can kill all Iraqis. I mean, this happens all the time. You distance yourself by saying you're not killing innocent people. You're killing the people who are guilty. And so it's okay. The whole people are guilty.
Yes.
And that, in a way, makes it easy for people to live with killing and sometimes to celebrate it.
Wow.
I don't celebrate any war. Yeah. So war is an ugly thing. Always innocent people die.
Yes.
Always. Yeah. But if you start doing this thing, your mind is gone. Gone.
Yes.
Gone.
Yeah. It's a. I feel these things like a bit personal as well because I'm not saying that the situation of Pakhtun is as severe as the people who are living in Palestine or the people of Gaza, but I feel these things personal because now, like as I see it, the situation here, there are a lot of military operations that has happened on this land in which the Pakhtuns lives, and there are like more than 60,000 people who have been killed. The Pakhtuns who have been killed, and few days ago there were these drone strikes in which children were killed. But the argument was that we even don't know from where these drones are coming. So like that, like in Pakistan, when children are getting killed with drones, we say that we don't know even the source of these drones. So like that process of dehumanization, when you dehumanizes people to a certain degree, as you said, it's then become very easy and also normal and also okay to get these people killed and like do away with them. It's like perfectly okay. And I asked this question because I was recently, like once again, I also want to understand the situation of our people, think about us as well from these perspectives. So I was reading about Swat, and there were like very terrible stories of Swati people in the time of militancy, in the time of Talibanization, and there were like these stories of beheading as well, like people who were slaughtered. And I was like thinking how people could become so cruel. And as you said, it's only happen when people are getting dehumanized to such degree. Now I want to ask a very simple question, and it's about Israel. Let's say if Vijay Prashad sir is sitting in a restaurant and someone's come directly to him and just say Israel, what will come to your mind just with this word Israel? How you think about this country, this state, this regime, whatever?
I mean, the first thing I'm going to think about is the Palestinian children dead.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the brand Israel, the brand of Israel is that. I recently sent a tweet. The tweet let me put this in context.
Okay.
Many years ago, the multinational corporation Nestle, there were investigations that Nestle in many countries, poor countries, was saying that mothers should not breastfeed their children, that instead they should give them Nestle formula
Wow.
because Nestle formula is better than breastfeeding. Okay,
Yeah.
so this activist group in
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco, California, did something clever.
Mm-hmm.
They bought a billboard, they rented a billboard, and they just put three words on the billboard. Okay, the company's name is Nestle, famous company. They make all kinds of things. So, three words on the billboard: Nestle kills babies.
Wow.
Three words: Nestle
Okay.
kills babies. That's it. There
Mm-hmm.
was nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is very powerful because people driving by looked up and saw Nestle kills babies. And then they thought, what is this referring to? Well, it made a lot of people curious and made Nestle very angry.
Mm-hmm.
Because what these activists were saying was by not allowing babies to, by discouraging breastfeeding,
Mm-hmm.
Nestle was taking nutrients away from babies and therefore killing them.
Yes.
Okay, and there was a lawsuit against the billboard and it got a lot of publicity. So Nestle kills babies. So I put a tweet out 10 days ago: Israel kills babies.
Yes.
That's it. Israel kills babies. No other explanation. You don't need explanation.
Yeah.
You ask me, if I say the word Israel, what do I think? I think Israel kills babies. Why? Because some 10,000 babies or children under the age of 5, something like that, some huge number has
Yes.
been killed in Gaza. And there are literally children under 5, babies, dying of starvation now. Level 5 famine. Yeah. What does Israel mean to me? Israel kills babies. That's it.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't even need to say Palestinian babies
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter. Yeah, these are human beings.
Yes. I want to say something, and I hope like I will not get misunderstood. Like you will realize the spirit in which I am using these words. I was just watching a video in which these people were like running towards that ad, and like again, one, I'm so sorry for using this word, but I just thought that it's like a movie clip of those zombie sorts of movies that we had watched. Like Israel is reducing normal human beings to such a level. Like this is to me like definitely insanity, and I quite often think about it. For example, we might say that if I had existed at that point in time, at that point in history in which there were like genocides and there was oppression and exploitation, and if I had existed at that point in time, I would have stood with the exploited, I would have stood with the oppressed, I would have stood on the right side of history. Do you think like the people of Palestine are getting enough support from the people right now when they could
I mean,
when they see this genocide in front of their own eyes?
see, it's funny because I think that large hundreds of millions of people around the world are aware of what's happening. Hundreds of millions of people, stand with the Palestinians. That's, I think, without question. Maybe more, maybe billions of people. Yeah. Certainly, I don't think in Pakistan you'll find a supporter of Israel. Very difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, that's a lot of people. In India, it's mixed. There are people who have actually no interest in what's happening.
Yes.
Um, you know, uh, it's the world is complicated, but hundreds of millions of people support Palestine. Okay, governments, sadly, have taken a quote unquote realistic understanding of their role. Some of them continue to do trade with Israel. They haven't broken relations. Um, you know, Forget the Western countries, which continue to sell weapons and so on. I'm talking about the non-Western countries. They continue to trade with Israel. Um, they have taken a realistic position, and I think that's unfortunate. Some of them are thinking about their own situation. You're just mentioning Pakistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or Baluchistan or whatever. Yeah, the government is probably thinking, listen, we shouldn't be too critical of what's happening in Israel, because we have to do similar things.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. You have to ask the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Certainly, I will say it's not like I am a huge fan of Imran Khan's bowling and his captaincy of the Pakistani team. I'm a huge cricket fan. I write about cricket every month. I write a column. I'm a huge fan of Sarfraz Nawaz and Imran Khan when they both opened the bowling together. Okay,
Hmm.
so just to put that out there,
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not like a huge fan of Imran Khan's politics. It's
Yes.
complicated. But I must say that if Imran Khan hadn't been overthrown as the prime minister, he might have been a little more strong in his condemnation of Israel.
Yes.
He would have been much stronger than
Yeah.
this government.
Yeah.
It's not like governments are not capable. The government of Colombia, led by Gustavo Petro, very strong in its condemnation. They stopped selling coal to Israel. It was the biggest provider of coal. They stopped. So it's possible for governments to be straightforward, but a lot of governments take a realistic position. They are also concerned about their own situation. Take the case of Iran.
Yes.
Iran is a government which has been most critical of Israel, but Iran, was afraid, and rightly so, that the United States and Israel would, bomb it, which they did,
They
but
did.
bomb it further, bomb Tehran, bomb, major cities, bomb Qom, bomb, major cities of Iran. They didn't do that, but they could have. And they could have destroyed, historical cities in Iran, because the US does that. It did it
Yes.
in Iraq, the bombed parts of Najaf and so on. So, even countries are afraid of the retaliation from the United States. Um, so Palestine has certainly not received the support that it should have received. But we cannot also say that it hasn't received support. It has received support in the hearts of hundreds of millions of people.
Yeah, yeah, and you rightly said like I want just I'm asking this question for a reason because quite often we say that there is like colonialism and that colonial system is just specific to the U.S. and the West. There are other countries in the world as well, for example, Gulf states, and this is like I want to ask now, like, is it possible for Israel to go on with the Palestinian with the people of Palestine and do with them as it is as Israel is doing with them these all these sorts of things if there was like no Gulf state support, implicit or whatever? Like, what is it possible?
Yeah, I mean, this is the great poem by Faiz Ahmad Faiz that was sung during the dictatorship by Iqbal Banu,
Hmm.
where she talks of Hum Taj lehrayega,
Yeah.
will whatever it is, throw the crowns into the air and
Yeah.
so on. Every time I think about this question, one way or the other, I think about Iqbal Bano singing it with such bravery. Imagine if Abida Parveen is invited to Dubai
Yeah.
and sits there and sings this song.
Yeah.
I don't think she would.
Yeah.
There's too much money earned
Yes.
going to the Gulf states. Okay, I'm saying something directly now.
Yeah.
There's too much money earned in the Gulf states for us to go there and be critical. Okay,
Yeah.
because you won't be invited the next time.
Yes.
Yeah, and many people earn their main money there, not in
Yes.
singing in some mushaira in Lahore. They earn their money singing in the Gulf states and London and so on. Let's be pretty clear about this. And
Yes.
and a lot of people in the world also keep their money there.
Yes.
There is a way in which these countries are immune from criticism. Um, Now, I should say I don't earn any money from there, and
Yes.
I don't have any big savings that are sitting in some bank in Dubai. But still, I understand the caution that people have because they are entangled. They
Mhm.
need the energy from there. There are entanglements. These countries have a curious history. Their principal fear,
Mm-hmm.
their principal fear is the growth of Republican sentiment in the Arab world, including in Iran. That means non monarchical sentiment, sentiment against the rule of kings and monarchs. This is what they don't tolerate.
Wow.
You can see how they have defeated the old Nasserite tradition. They defeated it from Egypt in 1979 when they got Anwar Sadat to surrender to Israel. Yeah, now Egypt is basically bought and paid up by Saudi Arabia. They overthrew Gaddafi, they overthrew Bashar al-Assad. There is no Saddam who did work for them when he invaded Iran in 1980.
Yes.
All of these non-monarchical governments are gone.
Yes.
They're gone. There's nobody. Algeria, they can't stand up to the Gulf monarchs on their own. Yeah, they are struggling with Morocco over
Mm-hmm.
Western Sahara. Yeah, these countries, the Gulf monarchs are triumphant in the
Mm-hmm.
Arab world. They control a lot of the territory. Yeah, they in fact, even Hamas was paid largely by Qatar. Was part of the Muslim Brotherhood world, which between Turkey, Qatar, Tunisia, and Hamas, that's their coordinates. They
Yes.
wanted to win in Syria, but then the Al Qaeda fellow comes to power. So, important thing to pay attention to is their worry is less Israel and more the revival of anti-monarchical feeling among Arab countries. So the problem for them is that the Palestinian liberation movement until recently was dominated by the left and by essentially Arab nationalists who were not in favor of kings. So Fatah, the PLO, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, none of these groups were pro king or pro sheikh, pro emir, none of them. And so pro Palestinian sentiment in the Arab world is largely also Arab nationalist, because
Okay.
that's what motivates people in Iraq to be pro-Palestinian. Is you say we are Arab nationalists. In the same way as in Indonesia, the idea is that we are Muslims, Palestinians are
Yes.
Muslim. Muslim sentiment comes into play. For others, it may be just human rights and so on.
Yes.
Yeah, but these come into play. Arab nationalism, Muslim, the Ummah is under attack and so on. These are there. They exist. We shouldn't pretend that they don't exist. Yeah.
Yes.
So the Gulf Arabs fear Arab nationalism more than they dislike Zionism.
Wow.
So they are willing to collaborate with the Zionists if it means destroying Arab nationalism. That is how you have to understand Saudi Arabia and the Emirates, that they fear Arab national because Arab nationalism is the contradiction of Arab emir culture, of Arab monarchies. That's the contradiction. Zionism, they don't see as contradictory to them.
Wow.
Zionism is just another European idea that
Okay.
is there north of the monarchies. Okay, they don't have a problem really with Israel.
Yes.
Their bigger problem is Arab nationalism. And because for Arab nationalism, Palestine was such a key issue, it was therefore a key issue for the monarchies. They had to take it up. Otherwise, they would have been isolated. But now, with the Arab nationalist movement largely defeated or subdued, the monarchies are okay with having an open relation with Israel. In fact, before October 7th, Saudi Arabia was starting to think about normalizing with Israel
Yes.
in the India, Middle East, Europe corridor.
Yes.
The trade corridor that would have started in Gujarat, gone to Dubai, up Saudi Arabia to Israel, the port of Haifa to Greece.
Yes.
That means they would have normalized relations.
Yeah.
October 7th stopped this process.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is the only way to understand the Gulf Arab monarchies is they fear Arab nationalism more than they hate Zionism.
Wow, it's a very good point. And I had asked this question for a reason. I was watching a podcast of Benjamin Netanyahu with Jordan Peterson, and I think he had given a hint to this point. And for that reason, I asked this question: like, would if they had not supported Israel, or if there was if they were as much, and I think there is certain enthusiasm towards Israel as well in this Gulf state, because they do have some certain fascination with this technological sophistication of Israel, etc. And now, and you pointed to something very significant. I feel that in Pakistan as well, we can say that the people of Palestinians are getting killed. We can say that the Kashmiris are getting killed, but we won't go into specifics like how Israel is doing its operation against the people of Palestine, how India is doing its operation against the people of India, because then there are Pakhtun living in this country as well, and then there are Baloch living in this country, and they would then say that you are doing the same thing to us as well. So the Palestinian nationalism is not encouraged, not supported, if I have understood the argument, because it is like antithetical to the very system that these Gulf states have built in the very first place.
I mean, that's my feeling.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Because Zionism isn't going to overthrow the family rule of Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia. Zionism doesn't threaten Mohammed bin Salman. It threatens the Palestinians,
Yes.
but not Mohammed bin Salman. Arab nationalism, Arab republicanism threatens Mohammed bin Salman. If the Saudi people rise up and say, we want a democracy, yeah, we want to have a democratic rule in Saudi Arabia, that threatens Mohammed bin Salman. So
Yes.
if you are Mohammed bin Salman, you recognize what's most dangerous is the revival of Nasserism,
Yes.
is the revival of Arab nationalism. You know, all its different currents, Baathism, this, that, and the other. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's dangerous.
Yes.
You know, in Pakistan, for instance, what is most dangerous for the Pakistani elite is the revival of something called Dil Pakistan. In fact, Pakistani nationalism is what they will most fear. Because as long as there's a Baluch nationalism, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, this, that, then the elite
Yes.
can use the military to go after people.
Yes.
But if everybody is protesting, saying, Dil Pakistan, we want a Pakistan where there's equality,
Yes.
we don't want 15 families to rule us.
Yes.
If that is the thing they fear the most. Same in India.
Yes.
What does the Indian elite fear? The Indian elite fears the revival of Indian nationalism. They fear the movement for Indians to say India is for Indians. Why? Because they are quite comfortable with these divides, Hindu, Muslim, BJP, this, that, and the other. It divides people, and then the elite is sitting and just enjoying. They're flying to London for holidays, whatever, enjoying. The thing that these countries most fear is when the people come together and say, we want equality. So, you see, Zionism doesn't threaten any monarch.
Yes.
What it threatens is the existence of the Palestinians.
It's a very
And that's
good
a
point.
price.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a price that the Gulf Arabs are willing to pay because they don't have to pay the price.
I'm going to send this clip to Pakhtun nationalist and certain Baloch nationalist as well, because you pointed to something which is very significant, which is so important. I think it just came to my mind for the first time that if you are using this Pakhtun nationalism, and if you are just reducing it too much, it actually does give those authoritarian forces to come back onto you. But if you say that I am a Pakistani, and we, the people of Pakistani, you are oppressing us, the people of Pakistani, we are taking a stand against you, that is going to be more problematic for them. Wow. I'm going to send this.
I mean, I don't want to interfere in people's politics, but I would say that the most powerful political position today is the widest possible social horizon, the
Mhm.
widest, not the narrowest,
Yes.
the widest possible. Why? Because we are constantly trying to widen our horizons. Today, you can't exist like, I don't want to get into controversies about Kashmir or this or that, but today you can't exist as a small state anywhere because technology is too complicated.
Yes.
The social division of labor crosses boundaries. You got to open yourself up to the world. You can't keep narrowing down. I had several friends from the borderland regions of Afghanistan and Pakistan. We used to talk about this area a lot, and they would say, we don't have a border, our land is divided, and so on. Look, what is worse? What is worse? Having a conflict that goes on forever, or just accepting what the border is and then creating
Yes.
a fluid way to go back and forth. For
Yes.
instance, again, you have India and Pakistan have had a border which is basically stable since 1947.
Yes.
Okay, it's basically been, most of the border is stable.
Yes.
Then there are some disputed points, particularly in Kashmir area, some disputed points. We are going to sit for the next 1,000 years with Azad Kashmir and the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir. We are going to sit for the next 1,000 years like this, like children, unable to say, look, guys, Kashmiris, we're going to just have to accept the border and have a peace agreement between India and Pakistan. But the border is going to be open. People can walk back and forth, see their families. We're going to demilitarize both sides completely. We are going to increase trade. We are going to create a situation where you can, in fact, have some sort of community institutions, Kashmiri institutions and
Yes.
so on. But we cannot continue to militarize the situation forever.
Yes. Definitely. Yeah.
So that's what I mean. I talk to my friends from particularly Afghanistan and say, my friends, you just accept what it is now. Durand line or no Durand line. It's what it is. Once you accept it, you can say, can we make an agreement
Yes.
where people can just go back and forth? There's no
Yes.
need for passports and visas and checking and so on. Because guess what? People are anyway going back and forth.
Yeah.
But now they're doing it under threat.
Yes.
They're doing it under threat. If
Yes.
they get arrested, it's terrible for them. They get beaten. They have to pay bribes to policemen, to border guards. It's horrible. So my own personal feeling is, let's go forward.
Yes.
History has been given to us. We didn't create some of these histories. Yeah.
Yes.
There's a man called Durand, a man called Radcliffe. This is colonialism.
Yes.
This is not our history.
Yes.
It's been given, it's been forced on us. Why should we fight over their histories? They're laughing at us.
Yeah.
Mr. Durand is sitting somewhere dead, laughing at us, saying, look at these idiots. They still call it
Yes.
the Durand line. I've
Yes.
been dead for 50 years and they remember me with this god awful line I drew one afternoon.
Yeah.
Radcliffe,
Yeah.
dead so many years. We are still going, oh, Radcliffe, Cyril Radcliffe. Who cares about Radcliffe? Some English guy came, he drew a line. Forget him. We have to settle this.
Yes.
As people who have known each other. I mean, my family, for instance, comes from the Khyber Pakhtun area.
Wow.
Okay, long time ago, they were
Wow.
Punjabis from that area. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but then my great grandfather was the Guru Sahib of Kartarpur,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of the most holy sites in Sikhism, now in Pakistan.
Yes.
So for me, I'm doing this book called Hindustan Bhi Mera Hai, yeah, with Fatima Shahzad. Look, for me, this geography is very complicated. And let me just tell you this, we can finish off on this, okay? I've been listening to some recent pop music.
Mm-hmm.
There's a song called Titli
Okay.
by Umair Bhatt. Umair Bhatt was the fantastic musician who sings in the Coke Studio song Blockbuster.
Okay.
Umair Bhatt is the guy who's singing. Okay. Umair Bhatt and a young woman who I think is terrific. Her name is Jasmine Sandless. Okay. This is a song called Titli. In the song, he basically says to her something like, "You a girl from Lahore?" And she says, "No, I'm a girl from Jalandhar."
Mm-hmm.
What I found amazing about this song and then that song Blockbuster was in Blockbuster, these are Pakistani singers singing, saying, we went and got this kurta from Ludhiana.
Mm-hmm.
This geography
Yes.
is real. Pakistan, India, these are real countries now. But this geography is also imaginary.
Yes.
I am still thinking of Kartarpur, of
Yes.
Lahore. Yeah, I'm still thinking about the Khyber Pass.
Yes.
My family for 3, 4 generations ago used to live near the Khyber Pass. Yeah, they worked for the missile, the governance system of the Singh Suba,
Yes.
whatever. Histories. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that when we ask questions, about like, what is the Gulf Arab states' reaction to X, Y, Z? And I said, well, larger identities are more powerful. I identify as a Punjabi, I identify as an Indian, I identify as a Bengali because I grew up in Bengal. I identify as a lot of
Yes.
complicated things. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I identify most as is a human being.
Yes.
And I would like that the principal way in which humans identify each other, or, the beautiful word pechan,
Yes.
which sometimes in English you can say recognition.
Yes.
Yeah. I recognize you. Yeah. Pechan means I recognize you. I see you. Yeah. What they sometimes young people now say, I see you.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
see you. You see me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see you. इसका मतलब क्या है? I see you. Pehchan, it's an old concept. It just means I see your humanity.
Yes.
It doesn't matter where you are from. I see
Yeah.
your humanity. You know, what is your asliyat? Asliyat to kya hai? It's insaniyat. And for me, this to a lot of people sounds terribly idealistic, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Because the concept of insaniyat for me is the most powerful concept that humans have constructed because it took humans enormous effort to move away from family
Yeah.
because your first identification when you are born is to your family, your
Yes.
love of your family. When you were helpless as a child, they took care of you. And so your primary love is to your family. When your children are born, they are helpless, you take care of them. Your primary responsibility is family. It took humans an enormous effort to move from the concept family or clan, yeah, baradri,
Yes.
family to clan to humanity, to imagine the concept insaniyat. It was not easy. It's अकबर अलाहाबादी इज ग्रेट लाइन आदमी था बड़ी मुश्किल से इंसान हुआ
Yes.
yeah
Yeah.
that is the key thing. We were people, great difficulty we became human. I take that super seriously. So
Yes.
if using the word Pakistan is helpful to build people's insaniyat
Yes.
back,
Yeah.
dil Pakistan.
It's a very good point, and I 120% agrees with this point. I was talking with Aisha Jalali, and we were talking about Kashmir, and she was speaking that partition is not just a historical fact; it's also a sort of like mentality. When we are thinking about Afghanistan, we are like thinking about making borders even more rigid. When we are thinking about Kashmir, we are thinking about making more states, and like that, like we are just thinking about partitioning, partitioning, partitioning. So it's like also a mindset that we have developed. I have last question about this point that I want to ask, and there is now once again this debate about two-state solution. I think there are certain European states who want to accept Palestine as a state. Would you like to see that two-state solution as a solution to this problem of Palestinians, if I can use these words, or would you? I was talking also with Jeb Halper, and he was saying that two-state solution is not a solution because it is actually accepting Israel as an apartheid state. The actual solution is like to just break that apartheid and have one state for both Israel and Palestinians. So where do you stand personally on this debate?
I mean, firstly, the UN position is the two state.
Mhm.
And I think a two state is very important right now to protect the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza from being annexed by Israel.
Okay.
Because right now, the only one state that is realistic is a one state annexed by Israel.
Yes.
So, right now, the two state idea is a shield against annexation.
Mhm.
Now, that's the political position for right now.
Yes.
It's like me saying right now we should just recognize our borders.
Yes. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's a permanent situation. It's just that let's stop the situation of war.
Yeah.
Let's stop Israel from trying to annex the West Bank. Because if you deny the two state solution idea, then the settlements in the West Bank become legal.
Okay.
Then the apartheid wall becomes legal.
Mm-hmm.
The wall around West Bank. Then the checkpoint system, everything becomes legal. The only thing that makes all of these things illegal, especially the settlements, is the two state solution. So you can't throw away the two state solution right now. The Palestinian political position is too weak to say, let's have a one state. See, the Palestinian demographic situation is okay because they'll be like a 50-50 population. In fact, there may be even more Palestinian population than Israelis demographically. But demography is not politics. We know that. We know that. Yeah, it's dumb to think of demography as politics. Yeah, I mean, in a country like Pakistan, Punjabis, I think, are a demographic minority. I'm not sure. I haven't looked it up in a long time. But anyway, Punjabis outsized dominate Pakistan's institutions. Yeah, it's demography and political power are not the same thing.
Yeah.
You can have much more politics. So it's a mistake today to throw out the two-state solution. It's a shield.
Yeah.
Now, in the future, what will happen, we don't know. But first, the Palestinians have to strengthen their political power.
Mm-hmm.
There can be nothing inside Palestine, Israel, unless the Palestinians rebuild and strengthen their political power, which is now very weak.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I would say. I don't want to, let's not get into an idealistic debate about what's better.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, what's better for the Palestinians? We don't know. What's better for Pakistan? What's better for India? We have lots of our own problems to deal with.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have our own issues to deal with. I mean, India and Pakistan just had a 3-day air war, which was crazy. Yeah. Over what? Pahalgam. We don't even know what happened there. Yeah. When is this going to end? I mean, we have our own problems. We shouldn't be lecturing them how they should do their thing. But what I do know is that I would not dismiss the two-state solution today.
Yes, definitely.
It's a big mistake politically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much, sir. And I think I'm going to send some of your clips to Pakhtun nationalist and Baloch nationalist. If I can be another source of controversy through you, I think it will be a privilege for me. So thank you so much.
Chalo, you do what you do. Just okay. Bye. See you later.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye. Bye.